The architecture of a courtroom is built for cold, hard facts. It is a space engineered to strip away sentiment, leaving only the sterile air and the heavy weight of the law. The justice system is designed to function like a machine. It takes the messiest, most chaotic events of human life and feeds them through a rigid framework of statutes and cross-examinations. To analyze a tragedy with absolute impartiality, the people operating this machine have to distance themselves. Emotion is viewed as a liability, something that clouds the objective truth. Day after day, judges, prosecutors, and investigators sit in these rooms and listen to the darkest realities of human behavior. They are trained to process horrors without blinking. When this deliberately emotionless machine breaks down, when the professionals who process nightmares for a living begin to weep, it represents a profound rupture in the standard judicial process. That is exactly what happened in Dhaka, Bangladesh. On June 2nd, crowds gathered outside the Dhaka Metropolitan Sessions Judges Court. Inside, proceedings were underway for a murder trial. According to the official court record seen here, Sub-Inspector Md Iqbal Hossain presented his inquest report. He listed the crime scene evidence, including a georgette scarf. But as he described the child's body, the transcript notes a shift. His voice broke. His hands shook. The veteran investigator began to cry openly on the stand. The judge was forced to halt the trial completely. Across the room, seasoned lawyers turned their faces away to hide their own tears. To understand what collapsed the composure of an entire courtroom, we have to look at the specific, brutal final moments of a child named Ramisa Akter. The timeline begins in the Pallabi neighborhood, characterized by these tightly packed residential buildings, where families share communal living spaces. The man accused of taking Ramisa's life did not break into her home from the outside. He was a neighbor living down the exact same hallway. This is a textbook case of proximity violence. The perpetrator weaponized the daily routines and shared amenities, specifically a communal bathroom, that the victim's family assumed were entirely safe. He used the trusted, enclosed environment of a shared floor plan to isolate a child without raising any initial alarms. The crime scene left behind undeniable forensic proof of what happened in that hallway, starting with the georgette scarf used during the initial assault. At the Shahid Suharwardi Medical College Hospital, Dr. Nasrat Sabeen received the body. She spent an hour alone in the examination room conducting the autopsy. Her medical report outlines a grim physical reality. The examination confirmed severe violence across the victim's body, including extensive mutilation and injuries inflicted by a sharp weapon. Police investigators later corroborated these medical findings by recovering an 11-inch knife directly from the suspect's bedroom. It was the calculated severity of these physical wounds, the documented proof of extreme agony, that ultimately overwhelmed the stoicism of the court. While the autopsy measured the physical damage, the timeline of the attack reveals a deep psychological cruelty. As the assault concluded, Ramisa's mother was already searching for her missing daughter. She walked down her own hallway and banged repeatedly on her neighbor's closed wooden door, standing mere inches away from where her child was being held. No one answered. On the other side of that locked door, the accused was working to destroy the evidence. DNA analysis later proved he was using water to scrub the crime scene clean while the victim's mother called out in the hall. A desperate mother and a methodical killer were separated by a few inches of wood. That spatial reality underscores the cold, unyielding nature of the crime. Knowing the walls were closing in, the suspect abandoned his room in Pallabi and fled the city, attempting to hide in the neighboring district of Narayanganj. Law enforcement rapidly mobilized, tracking him down and taking him into custody before he could disappear completely. As detailed in this script excerpt, the legal record of his guilt is ironclad. Under interrogation, the suspect admitted to the violence, and a formal confession was recorded under Section 164 by a Dhaka Metropolitan Magistrate. With the physical escape thwarted and a legally binding confession in hand, the courts had no choice but to confront the graphic, irrefutable details of the murder. The horror of those details could not be contained within the courtroom walls. As the facts spilled out onto the courthouse steps, they triggered a massive public outcry. According to the public record, Prosecutor Omar Farooq Farooqi addressed the press, documenting the visceral, emotional reactions that had brought the day's proceedings to a halt. Citizens took to the streets across the country, following the courtroom developments with mounting outrage and holding protests to demand severe justice. Exemplary punishment functions as a deterrent against future atrocities, while acting as a stabilizer for public trust in the judicial system. A swift verdict might close the official case file, but for the family of Ramisa and for the seasoned professionals whose composure shattered upon hearing her story, the emotional scars left by those locked doors will remain.